Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about pinning blame. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, in a software engineering team who claim that they do not pin blame on engineers for any production issues, how are frequent issues caused by commits of an engineer handled? Oh, that's cute. You think that your extreme definition of not getting blamed for making mistakes is the same thing as saying that we don't blame people for mistakes. So when people say that they don't blame, they have a no blame policy, it is because if someone makes a mistake, an honest to God mistake, maybe once or twice or every so often, you shouldn't blame them for making something that is a completely human error, but there's a world of difference between that and incompetence. It's actually funny. I've worked with a lot of people who are so stupid that they don't understand what the difference is between having an attitude towards a positive attitude or a very benign and open standpoint on how to do things, and then they misbehave like fuck and think that what are you talking about? Philosophically this still applies, and then everybody else goes, yes, you idiot, but that doesn't mean that we can accept you taking things to the extreme. It's sort of like the base concept around you should love people unconditionally. Yeah, absolutely. I wonder if the same applies if it turns out that the person you're supposed to love mistreats you, or is a psychopath or a murderer or something like that. And only stupid people who truly are idiots, I cannot say it in a nicer way, think in those terms, where a general guideline principle intended for something that is a very good and positive thing, where you are too stupid to understand the difference between a guideline and an immutable rule of the universe. So, guys, I hate to break it to you, but in a no-blame situation, the idea is that you have to make sure that people don't feel threatened or scared when they're doing a good job. That is the key thing, because even someone who knows how to do their job really well will make a mistake. It's always a risky thing for a software developer in some way to release things into production, etc., etc. It's part of the job. You have to do it, but you have to also make sure that people feel comfortable doing so. But if said person continuously fucks up to the point where, like, it's not a matter of making a mistake due to that it's it's an occasional thing, it's something that consistently happens, then it's not due to the fact that someone is qualified but has a bad day or something like that. It means that they are underqualified, usually. It could, of course, be that the code base is really shitty. Like, there are many circumstances, but that is the way it is viewed. And then what's going to happen is that you are going to go into a performance review, and you're going to have to sort of deal with the situation, as I've said before, with when it comes to incompetence in software development and so forth. There are many ifs and buts where you might get a warning, you might get a roadmap for improvements, or you might get fired. It differs a little bit, but this is reality, and I really don't understand how so many people around the world, especially my generation, seems to be too dumb to understand the difference between an ideology or like a mindset that should guide decision-making processes and an immutable rule that they can mess around with and try to exploit. It's sort of like a stupid version of what the tax dodgers and the lawyers and so forth are doing, where it's even dumber, where like they try to figure out workarounds around actual decisions and laws, and systems that are in place to, well, hopefully benefit people, and these people are just like basically trying to interpret in a similar way to how a priest or an evangelist or something like that interprets the word of the Lord to mean literally whatever they want, and just uses it as justification for doing all kinds of stupid stuff. I even remember one time when I had a person who was I was working with a software developer, well, technically a QA, who had been continuously fucking up for months. We've been trying to help him for many ways, and one of the things that has been explicitly requested was that when he asks for help and asks tries to get help with his different tasks, that he does so in a public format so that we can help him and sort of figure out like how much help does he actually need. And he plainly refused to do so, and my suspicion is that he did so, one part because he was immature and insecure in showing that he needed help, yet whenever he did not get basically hand-holding for things, and this is a guy with 10 years of experience, he couldn't actually produce. He was trying to hide the fact that he was incompetent, and then he refused to comply with the request put upon him. And when I asked him about it, like, why are you not, like, you know, this is a principle that we try to follow at this company, everybody else is doing, why can't you? And then he tries to preach to me saying that, well, there's one of our key values is trust, and you should trust me enough to know to allow me to do things the way I want. And I go, all right, Kai, let's go and have a talk with your manager. And he got fired pretty quickly after that, because if you are too stupid to understand that the interpretation of things is different depending on how you look at it. Sure, you can make an argument. In this case, he made an argument that, well, trust is the foundation for all interactions within the workplace, so you should trust me when I blatantly ignore the directions that you give. And I kind of, I didn't want to get into a fight with him, but I can just turn that around and say, yes, but trust is also earned. You can define it as, well, trust between two people means that there has to be transparency, because without the transparency, how can I trust you? If you steal from the company, should I still trust that you are using the money for, for benign reasons? Maybe you're giving it all away to charity. What do I know? So what I want you to take away from this is that if you have a no-blame culture, that doesn't mean that you can be incompetent or, do things consistently that causes issues, then you're going to get fired. It means that we accept that people are people, and sometimes things don't go as we plan. And that's okay, because someone who is usually a pretty good, decent software developer or whatever, who is on an average day doing a good job, is allowed to make a mistake and has to be told so that they don't feel threatened or intimidated in doing things that are sometimes a little bit risky, like releasing into production, for example. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to face the music if you are incompetent, or you're continuously fucking up all the time, or you're underqualified, etc., etc. The only people who think in those terms are stupid people. These are the people who literally use the interpretation and semantics of something, be it a rule, a religious text, whatever, as some type of justification for doing all kinds of other stupid shit, and only a true moron would think in that way. Because, guys, some concepts are guiding principles to steer us in a better direction, and some things are hard rules. And when you can't tell one from the other, well, that's when we have all the situations we have with politics and etc., etc. It's just that in a company, the correct quote-unquote interpretation of what you're talking about is the managers, because they hold the money. Which means that if you feel like you interpret this in a different way and they interpret it in a slightly different way, well, it doesn't matter so much how you feel that things should be interpreted, because they're the ones who are paying you to do the job. So if push comes to shove, they're the ones who are going to be right, and you're the one who's going to get canned. Have a great day.